Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachadi Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtotara Shata Shri Srimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sekaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. New Govardhan Dham Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari. Need the Bhagavatam. Good morning, America. Good morning to everyone. Hare Krishna. One devotee, he gave a class, and after the class, he's a brahmachari, and another brahmachari gave him some feedback. And I was thinking about that, and I was like, wow, that was like really harsh feedback. The feedback that he gave him was, after hearing your class, I can see how much you're suffering in Krishna consciousness. I can see how much you're having a hard time. That was his feedback. I was like, oh my God, that was like really intense. You can see how much you're suffering. Anyways. Sometimes it's difficult to get feedback, right? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, so this is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, which is Liberation, Chapter 10, the pastimes of Lord Rāmacandra. And then the next chapter will be Lord Rāmacandra rules the world. Going forward. Then we're getting to King Pururava enchanted by Urvasi. That's a fun chapter, right? So yeah, if everybody could please repeat after me. Text 51, 9, 10, 51. Tretā-yam vartmanayam kalaha krita samo bhavat brahme rajani dharmagya sarvabhuta sukavahe Tretā-yam vartmanayam kala krita samo bhavat rame rajani dharmagya ge sarvabhuta sukavahe Tretā-yam vartmanayam kala krita samo bhavat rame rajani dharmagye sarvabhuta sukavahe Tretā-yam vartmanayam kala krita samo bhavat rame rajani dharmagye sarvabhuta sukavahe. Please chant. Rajamandala, you like to chant? Oh, Hindi, Radha. Would Vanessa like to recite the verse? Maybe, maybe not. Okay. Okay, please repeat after me. Tretā-yam in the Tretā-yuga. Vartamanayam, all those situated in that period. Kalaha, the period. Krita, with Satya-yuga. Samaha, equal. Abhavat, it so became. Rame, because of Lord Rāmacandра's being present. Rajani, as the ruling king. Dharmagya, because he was fully religious. Sarvabhuta, of all living entities. Sukha avahe, given full happiness. Translation: Lord Ramacandra became king during Tretā-yuga, but because of his good government, the age was like Satya-yuga. Everyone was religious and completely happy. Purport: among the 4 yugas, so going very far back, you have Satya, and then further, Treta, Dwapara, and Kali. The Kali Yuga is the worst. But if the process of Varnashram Dharma is introduced, even in this age of Kali, the situation of Satya-yuga can be invoked. The Hare Krishna movement, or Krishna consciousness movement, is meant for this purpose. Kalir dosha nidhe rajan asti heko mahan guna kirtanareva krishnasya mukta sangha param bhajet. My dear king, although Kali Yuga is full of faults, there is still one good quality about this age. Simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, one can become free from material bondage and be promoted to the transcendental kingdom. So this is from the Bhagavatam, Canto 12, Chapter 3, Text 51. If people take to this Sankirtan movement of chanting Hare Krishna Hare Rama, they will certainly be freed from the contamination of Kali Yuga. And the people of this age will be happy, as people were in Satya-yuga, the golden age. Anyone, anywhere, can easily take to this Hare Krishna movement. One need only chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, observe the rules and regulations, and stay free from the contamination of sinful life. Even if one is sinful and cannot give up sinful life immediately, if he chants the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra with devotion and faith, he will certainly be freed from all sinful activities, and his life will be successful. Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. This is the blessing of Lord Rāmacandra, who has appeared in this age of Kali as Lord Gaurasundar. Omagyanativirandas Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshulanamaditam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Kadivachalam Pangam Langate Girim Yakripatamaham Vande Shri Gurundini Taranam Vancha Kapadri Bishcha Kipasandu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, translation once again. Lord Ramacandra became king during Tretā-yuga, but because of his good government, the age was like Satya-yuga. Everyone was religious and completely happy. Foolish people, they claim that the time we're living in now is Satya-yuga. Sometimes people claim that. Has anyone heard that before? Yeah, there's certain people who claim that. Now, I'm not sure what those people are smoking to have such hallucinations, because just looking around you think, oh really, do they really think it's Satya-yuga? I mean, there's just so many terrible things are happening all around the world. San Diego, California, United States, and then just expanding all over the world. There's so many terrible things happening. And they seem to be getting more terrible in terms of the type of activities people are engaging in. Very animalistic, or you could say even lower than animalistic. It's just really... So, yeah, you think, what are these people thinking? There was one person who comes to the Krishna Lounge regularly, and I spoke with him last Thursday, and he was telling me, he said, yeah, I was a little late, and the room was kind of full, so I just decided to stay outside in front of the lounge, and I was listening, and I was just meditating there. And he said, yeah, before I came here, I took one puff. And I was like, okay, let's take one puff. And he smoked some weed before he came. And I just told him, I just said, one puff, that's it? Because people, it's not just usually one puff, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, it's kind of. So I was joking with him, must be some really good stuff if you just need one puff. And he said that he just does that every day after work. He just takes one puff. It's okay, anyways. So he was meditating out in front of the lounge, and he said, yeah, after he took his puff, and he said, yeah, he's like, Hare is the lady, and Krishna's the guy? And I said, yeah, the lady and the guy, yeah, I want to say that. That's how he described them, the lady and the guy. It's like, okay, yeah, sure, they're the lady and the guy. And he said, yeah, when I was sitting there meditating, I had this sense that I was their son. I was their son, and like everyone's their son. And so I said, oh, that's a good realization. I was trying to encourage him like that, but yeah, the thing is, it's not. We can't base our realizations or base our convictions on just some type of hallucination, based on what we smoked or based on how we're imagining things to be. Of course, he was seeing things in relation to Krishna consciousness, which was wonderful. He's a nice guy. He's a really nice guy. I just thought it was kind of amusing, but if we start looking out at the world and just imagine and start to imagine that, yes, it's Satya-yuga, kind of psych ourselves up. Look outside, the sun is shining. It's Satya-yuga. But it's not so easy. So Srila Prabhupada makes the point, yes, it is not Satya-yuga, it is Kali-yuga. And he says this is the worst age to be in. But still, he said that Satya-yuga can be invoked. So the golden age, because it's like, what is it, gold, and then what's the next one? What is it? Silver, then bronze, and then this one's iron. It's the iron age of Kali. So he said that the golden age of Satya can be invoked if Varnashram Dharma is introduced, everyone acting according to their natural inclinations and abilities, and certain ashrams in Krishna consciousness, that's a big topic, but if that's introduced, and if people take shelter of the chanting of the holy name, that can be invoked. There's a beautiful shloka in the Sri Padyavali, which I'll ask Dravida Prabhu, does he have a mic? About praising Mother Yashoda's son and how Kali Yuga is they don't feel the blazing fire of Kali Yuga.
Aho aho bir nakale vaduyate sudha sudhara monoram pade pade dine dine chandana chandra shitalam yasho yashoda tanayasagiyate. Because at every step they drink a flood of wondrous nectar sweet, whose cooling power sandal paste enhanced with camphor can't defeat. They feel as if the raging blaze of Kali's days had ne'er begun. How blessed are they who fill their days with praise of Shri Yashoda's son.
Can you say it one more time?
The English?
Yeah.
Because at every step they drink a flood of wondrous nectar sweet, whose cooling power, now you have to know the culture, sandal paste is very cooling. If you add some camphor powder to it, not the kind that kills the moths, but the other kind. It becomes even cooler, right?
Yeah, they put it on people's head, like we put on Prabhupada's head during the summer, or they put it on people's head.
Yeah,
Sandalwood paste with camphor makes very cooling.
And there's 1 week or something, or a month, when they put it on the
Chandan
deities.
Yatra.
Chandan Yatra.
Where they put it on the deity, completely put it on the deity, yeah.
Yeah. So that's really cool. Because at every step they drink a flood of wondrous nectar sweet, whose cooling power sandal paste enhanced with camphor can't defeat. They feel that the raging blaze of Kali's days had ne'er begun. How blessed are they who fill their days with praise of Sri Yashoda's son.
Yes, so it's a beautiful shloka. Thank you very much, Prabhu. It's a beautiful shloka in the Padyavali. I'm not sure if it's an anonymous author. I'm forgetting right now, because a number of them are anonymous. Humble Vaishnavas, just anonymous. But it's a beautiful shloka that is telling us that if we spend our days glorifying Krishna, days and nights glorifying Krishna, then the blazing fire of Kali, or the blazing fire of Kali-yuga, it's like it hasn't begun. In other words, we're not affected by it. Whatever is going on in Kali-yuga, we're just not affected by it. And instead of feeling that blazing fire, which is very unpleasant and terrible, we are actually feeling very cool. Feeling very cool. So it means our consciousness, it's not being burned.
This was apparently written by Sri Kavi Ratna. Whether that is his given name or his nickname, I don't know, because it means the jewel of poets. So.
Kavi Ratna, Sri Kavi Ratna. Okay. Yeah, so something else about the Golden Age. There's a Vyasa Puja offering written by one devotee to Srila Prabhupada, and he makes a reference of the Golden Age, because we're in Kali Yuga right now. The Golden Age has already passed, but within Kali Yuga, there's a Golden Age happening. So I'll just read these quotes. This is from a Vyasa Puja offering, 1970 Vyasa Puja offering to Srila Prabhupada. The Vedic literatures predict that after the advent of Lord Chaitanya 500 years ago, there would be a golden age of 10,000 years, when the chanting of the holy names of God would completely nullify all the degradations of the modern age, and real spiritual peace would come to this planet. So then Srila Prabhupada, he comments on this on a Bhagavatam purport, which Bhakti Swami, who's compiling all of these quotes, he says that this was almost certainly heard from Srila Prabhupada, later elaborated in the Bhagavatam purport. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, he ushered in the era for the Sankirtan movement. It is also said that for 10,000 years this era will continue. This means that simply by accepting the Sankirtan movement and chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the fallen souls of this Kali Yuga will be delivered. After the battle of Kurukshetra, at which Bhagavad Gita was spoken, Kali Yuga continues for 432,000 years, of which only 5,000 years have passed. Thus, there is still a balance of 427,000 years to come. Of these 427,000 years, the 10,000 years of the Sankirtan movement inaugurated by Lord Chaitanya 500 years ago provide the opportunity for the fallen souls of Kali Yuga to take to the Krishna consciousness movement, chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and thus be delivered from the clutches of material existence, return home back to Godhead. So there's a reference from the Brahma Vivarta Purana, although Srila Prabhupada didn't quote it in this purport, but it can be traced to the Brahma Vivarta Purana 4, 129, 52 to 59, that within Kali Yuga there'll be a 10,000 year respite due to the presence of Vaishnavas in the world. So the idea is that the Golden Age started when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared. It'll go on for 5,000 years from that time. And it's just a matter of tuning in. Just like in the good old days, they used to tune into a radio, right? You had a radio and you would tune. There'd be a bunch of static, and then eventually you hit the channel, and then you would hear some clear message of the news or of certain music you want to listen to, something like that. Of music from Mexico. What do they call that when they laugh again? Remember, and it's a common thing in the they laugh very loud. What is it called? You remember? I think you told me. You know when they're playing the what is it called? Accordion, and then they laugh. Yeah, but you know what I'm talking about, right? What is it called? Yes, they laugh. The men laugh. Anyways, I'm still waiting to hear that in a kirtan. Maybe we have to go to Mexico to hear that. Actually, the devotees in the Rath Yatra, they arranged for these guys to do a little procession, and they did some of that laughter. But I'm waiting for that day. But maybe you want to hear that. You tune in, you hear that. But whatever you want to tune in and hear, you have to hit the right channel. Then you could hear clearly. So, in a similar way, it's about like tuning in to the golden age, tuning into Lord Chaitanya's mercy. Have a clear channel. Actually, it says that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or the Nityananda Prabhu, yesterday we celebrated his appearance day, says that he cut a channel from the ocean of love of God, and there was a channel that went to all the people of the world. So that's in a song, I think it's called Nittai Gunamani, that Prabhupada sings. So yeah, but it's about focusing, the power of focus, the power of our minds. It's amazing how much power we have. It means how much power our minds have, and how much power what really happens when we focus on things. It's amazing. If we meditate on the atrocities of Kali-yuga, if we meditate on the faults of others, if we meditate on our own faults, because that could be a type of Maya as well, meditating on one's own faults. You're standing before Radhagiri Dari, and just instead of being absorbed in them, we're thinking how terrible we are or something, but why not just think of Radhagiri Dari? There's room for that, but shouldn't be excessive. If we're criticizing devotees, then we really create like a dark hell for ourselves. Hell means somewhere where means separation from God. That's a definition, one definition, separation from God. We create that hell for ourselves, the self-constructed hell. But if we focus on Lord Chaitanya, if we focus on Lord Nityananda, right, they're very beautiful here in San Diego. Of course, they're beautiful everywhere, but the devotees have a special attraction to the Gaur Nitai here in San Diego, naturally. A special affection for our deities, but say they're especially beautiful here. Gaur Nitai, Radhagiri Dari, Jagannath Baladev, Subhadra. We focus on Krishna, on our own Krishna consciousness, on giving Krishna consciousness, then we'll be able to tune into the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and we won't be troubled by Kali-yuga. There's a story that Srila Prabhupada tells, a short story, in which it's a story of a Brahmin. We've discussed this before here, but it's similar principles, so I'm bringing it up again. But it's a story of a Brahmin who's doing all of his yagyas and his mudras and his chanting and all these different things, reading. And he's living on one side of the street. And then on the other side of the street, there's a woman living there who happens to be a prostitute. She's living on the other side. And he is thinking, he's looking across the street, and he's thinking, she's just terrible, and he's just like absorbed in her. It's abominable. She's terrible, and just like absorbed in her and her activities. And she is looking across the street, and she's saying, "Oh, what a what a wonderful devotee, what a wonderful Brahmin, what a wonderful person. And it says that whatever karmic reactions that she was incurring from her activities was just going to him because he was so absorbed. And whatever good credit that he was supposed to be getting was going to her because she was absorbed in that way. So you see the power of focus, the power of the mind. You could be in a particular place, in a particular time, and not be getting the benefit as much as somebody else is. So we have to try to train ourselves to focus. That's part of Bhakti Yoga, training ourselves to focus. Much of everything we do really in Bhakti Yoga, it requires training. I remember His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami, he had one elderly couple as disciples, which he was saying was an interesting experience because he was quite younger than them, and they were elderly Gujarati, very pious devotees. They used to live in Los Angeles. I remember them, seeing them, Vidura and Manjari, a couple. They said that when they wanted to pass away at the same time so they could serve Krishna together. They say she'll be massaging one foot Krishna, and then he'll be massaging another foot. Anyways, they're a very saintly couple. They passed away some years ago, but he said at one particular point he was living with his son and he wanted to move to the Los Angeles temple. But his son, he felt really bad because they were elderly. And his son said, "This won't look very good for us, that we're just neglecting you as our parents and you're just moving across the street to the temple. This won't be very good, so we can't let you do this." And then Vidura, he said, "I'll make my own arrangements." So he called Subhas Prabhu, the temple president. And it was arranged. So they stayed in the apartment across the street. But because he was so elderly, he had to wake up extremely early. Because, when you're older, you move a lot slower and getting ready, it's like a whole process. So he had to wake up very early in the morning. And then he wanted to chant early in the morning. He wanted to make ghee-wicks for the deities, so he's waking up very early. And he said he wasn't used to that. So he would wake up very early. Then he was crossing the street one day from the apartments to the temple, and he said he fell down and scraped up his body and so on. But he was making the point that when Tamal Krishna Goswami asked him about his service and him waking up and everything, he said, "Yeah, I'm not really used to this, but I'm training myself." So on practically all aspects of Krishna consciousness, we may not be so used to them. It might be difficult, certain things. But the idea is to just execute those, try, and then in this way we're training ourselves. One more short story about contention or consciousness or the power of focus is that we hear Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his travels to South India. He went to Sri Rangam, and there was one Brahmin there. And the Brahmin got the instruction from his guru to read Bhagavad Gita, but the problem is he was illiterate, he couldn't read. Which apparently, hundreds of years ago, that wasn't so uncommon. So he was upside down reading this, that, he was not pronouncing properly, it was just, people were making fun of him. Local Brahmins, look at this person. But all along the South Indian Brahmin was crying. Not because people were making fun of him, not because people were laughing, but he was just crying in ecstasy because he was seeing, in his spiritual vision, he was seeing Krishna, Parthasarthi, who is the charioteer, the driver of his devotee Arjuna. He was thinking, this is so beautiful, this is so wonderful that Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he loves his devotees so much that he serves them personally. It's a very humble situation to be in. You serve somebody like that as they're like, you're driving and then they're there. That's what Krishna was doing. If you see all the pictures, right? I have here actually. I happen to have, see Krishna, he's driving. Arjuna. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came across this Brahman, he asked him why he was crying, and then the Brahman told him that this is why I'm crying. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "You're the real knower of Bhagavad Gita." And then he embraced him. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced him. They're both crying there. So it's about consciousness, because our ability to focus on that and what we should focus on. If we focus on praising Krishna, glorifying Krishna, Krishna consciousness, then we won't be bothered by Kali-yuga, the blazing fire of Kali-yuga. And even if we have many disqualifications, like we're illiterate, I don't think anybody here is illiterate, but whatever the disqualifications are, if we have the right mood and if we have devotion and sincerity, then that's what's important, and Krishna will accept that, just like we see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepting that. So, those are some thoughts. Does anybody have any question?
I have a comment.
Or comment?
Well, actually, it's a comment, and it's also a question if someone knows the actual fact. I remember when I first encountered this list, Satya, Treta, Dwapara, Kali, of the yugas. And it was very clear that, it was like a degradation. And then, but I didn't understand Treta and Dwapara. Treta means 3 and Dwapara means 2.
Mm-hmm.
But Treta is not the third one. It's the second one. And Dwapara is not the third one. It's the second one. It's the third. So how does that work? So I don't know when this was. This is some years ago, and I don't exactly know where I read it. I want to reconfirm it, but it makes sense. That the Treta and the Dwapara indicate the number of the 4 basic principles of goodness, that are decreasing and decreasing. In Kali, there's only one left, truthfulness, and it's almost finished. And you find that wonderful story in the first canto of King Parigat coming across Kali personified, beating the legs of the cow, and when the cow is standing on one leg, and that one leg is truthfulness, So I just wanted to point that out. There's these 4 principles of goodness that gradually decrease, and so it's austerity, cleanliness, truthfulness, and mercy. And in the 12th canto, where this verse is quoted, Kaladosha Nirajan, there's a chapter there showing how they're all decreasing and diminishing steadily in Kali-yuga. So I just wanted to point that out, that Satya is where they're all 4 present Treta, and I'm not sure which one decreases or which are present. We can find out. The Treta, there's 3 left, Dwapara, there's 2 left, Kali, there's only 1 left, truthfulness, and it's going fast, as you can see. So also one little vignette, editorial vignette. I remember when I was working on the CC, it was right here. Working on the CC means that 20 years after the CC was published, and it was published very rapidly, 15 books in 2 months, So there are obviously a lot of some errors involved. So this wasn't exactly an error, but what it was is this story you told about the Brahman in Ranganath temple, I think. And the way it was worded there was that when I read the Bhagavad Gita, I see this picture of Krishna and of Krishna and Arjuna, and as you described it, that he sees the wonderful thing that God is serving his devotee and he's crying, And I mean, I know when I read it first, and I think most devotees when they were reading it said, "Oh, just like we have our pictures." And it must be an illustrated Gita, right? No, he was seeing the picture in his mind. In other words, he's reading the description of it, and he's visualizing Arjuna and Krishna doing that, and that's why it's causing him to be so emotional. And as Lord Chaitanya embraced him and said, "You're the real knower of Bhagavad Gita." But just remember that when you come upon that passage.
Yeah, Srila Prabhupada did so many revolutionary things. One of the revolutionary things he did was to have artists who he just collected somehow. I mean, because he came and it was only from 1965 to 77 he was engaged in his preaching work, but all in that time he collected all of these artists who as Dravida Prabhu's mentioned, as we could see, some of them in the beginning, some of the artwork wasn't materially expert, but over time a lot of them became expert artists, materially and spiritually. So, and Srila Prabhupada had a lot of faith in in those paintings, and he would look at them personally and guide the devotees, and he said they're windows into the spiritual world. So, but the revolutionary thing he did was, first of all, have that idea and then collect all those artists and tell them to encourage them to get busy writing, painting, and then he put them in his books. Before that didn't happen. That was the first in history where you have so many pictures like that. All the Bhagavatams have pictures. All of our cantos have pictures.
And one thing that wasn't known right away is that Prabhupada himself was somewhat of an artist. Now he was drawing what he wanted, the conceptions of the Krishna Balarama temple, and it was pretty expert. It wasn't painting it, but the drawings were really nice. Mm-hmm. So he appreciated art.
Yeah, one thing it says that Kali is located where there is the four rules broken. That's where Kali is located. The age of Kali is located there. But Kali is also located where there's money. Because where we see where there's money, these things follow. They tend to follow. People think, how will I spend my money? So they spend them on breaking these four rules. But the fact that Kali resides where there's money is a very challenging point and an interesting point, because Kali means hypocrisy. It also means quarrel. What do people fight over mostly in this world? I would say money. Like, for example, your mother and father has a beautiful house and some property in India. Let's say you're from India, and your mother has some property in India. She passes away. There's some trust there, or there's not a trust. There's a will left. It's pretty clear. But what do all the brothers and sisters do? Even though the will is very clear, they fight over it. And because it's the Indian. It's the court system in India, as those who are familiar with it, that could take 25, 30, 40 years. Meantime, nobody's owning that property and the whole house is just deteriorating. And they're all mad at each other, not talking with each other. It's terrible. But what is that over? It's over money. And that doesn't happen just in India. It happens all over the world. It's a big thing when parents pass away or something, people fighting over it. It's really... Or divorce, or just, there's so many things. Those are just two examples, divorce and this, people passing away and people fighting over the property. But there's so many examples where people fight over money. So we have to be careful. Those of us people dealing with money have to be very careful. Everybody's dealing with money nowadays, but very careful. And therefore the principle of charity, of giving money to spread Krishna consciousness for the pleasure of the deities and so on, is an important factor to try to keep Kali away from us, because we don't want Kali. Kali's not a friendly person to have around. So you have a question or comment?
Hare Krishna. I have a comment. So about the ages. The order is Satya, Dwapar, Treta, and then Kali. But then... Satya, Dwapar, Treta, and Kali. But then...
Well, he's making a comment.
Yeah. Yeah. If we read the purport of Srila Prabhupada, Srimad Bhagavatam 1.4.14, he says there is a chronological order of the 4 millenniums, namely Satya, Dwapar, Treta and Kali, but sometimes there is overlapping. During the regime of Vaivasvata Manu, there was an overlapping of the 28th round of 4 millenniums, and the 3rd millennium appeared prior to the 2nd. In that particular millennium, Shri Krishna also descends. So the understanding that I had was when Yashodanandan Krishna comes, the Dwapar-yuga is 3rd and Treta is 2nd. Otherwise, Dwapar comes 2nd and Treta comes 3rd.
Yes, I knew there was some explanation of that, but yeah, I didn't have that quote on hand. But yeah, thank you very much for bringing that up. Yeah, switch. Thank you. Chad, do you have something?
Hare Krishna. Yeah, I have a couple things. First of all, there's a saying that a picture says 1,000 words, and during book distribution, it's a really fast and easy way to preach. Jujimani does it a lot, and it's very effective. The other thing is that you read.
One of the reasons Jujimani is a successful book distribution is very friendly. So
that's true too.
Smiles at people, very friendly. They like that because people are suffering so much and struggling so much and lonely and so many things. So if somebody's friendly, if somebody's smiling, and also just being happy. If you're happy doing what you're doing, then people, oh, it's a nice, friendly person. And if you meet some pious people out there, then they'll take. So
that's
I remember one time we were distributing books out at a college. I mean, at a mall in Chula Vista. It was Toto Gopinath and myself. Those who know Toto Gopinath. So we had a book table there, and somebody came up to us, and apparently we're looking kind of frowning a little bit. Somebody came up to us like, you guys could smile, like you could kind of smile a little bit. That'll probably help you. So okay, just smile more. But anyways, yes.
Okay, and then the second thing was that you had read that during the golden age of Lord Chaitanya, the last 10,000 years, it was due to the presence of Vaishnavas. So at the end of the 10,000 years, does that mean there will be no more Vaishnavas?
Well, there'll be Vaishnavas, but things will be so degraded and so terrible that, like even in countries now, communist countries or heavy, fanatical Islamic countries, it's difficult for devotees to practice Krishna consciousness. In a sense, they have to do it like hiding to practice. And there's different severities according to the country. But then at that time it becomes even more intense. At a particular time, people will hunt people. That's what it says in the Bhagavatam. So So don't want to be around for that. So in a positive sense, we should take full advantage of the opportunity we have right now. It's a wonderful opportunity right now. It's wonderful in the sense that, like I've mentioned before, other countries, they don't have so much freedom as we have in America. That's a fact. Religious freedom. The religious freedom we have in America is just absolutely amazing. And Srila Prabhupada noted that. Srila Prabhupada really appreciated America, and he glorified America and his American disciples for helping him in so many ways. But one of the things he glorified about America was that he said, America gave me men and women to help me spread the Krishna consciousness movement, gave me money and to spread Krishna consciousness, and it never put any hindrance, I could say, in distributing books, my books. They were able to distribute freely. Other countries, all of this it's even now, it's like very restricted. So yeah, we're in a very good situation, being in America, having religious freedom, and yeah, we should take advantage of that. Okay, any other? I think, okay, you have Madhavapuri, then Sankashan.
Hare Krishna. The concept of karma as a perfect, universal system of action and reaction. You mentioned it, this idea of money. In a society where the lifeblood is money, and those who are on top of the system, it's just paper, but to everybody else it means time, blood, sweat, tears, the difference between living life as a ghost or living the life of one's dreams. So how can this idea of karma be a perfect universal system when it could be so manipulated by an artificial man-made construct as money?
Okay. Yeah, about money being time and so on. One devotee told me that there was a person who, and then I'll get to your other points, but one devotee told me there was a time where this thief came up to this man, and he had a gun, and he said, "You're give me your money, or I'm taking your life." And the guy was hesitating. Most people just take the wallet, take the purse, like, I want my. But the guy was hesitating. He said, "Hey, man, I'm serious. Like, your money or your life?" So he said it a couple, and then he said, "I'm going to give you one last chance." And the guy said, "I'm thinking about it." Anyways, so people really attached to their money. That's the idea, over their life. But so yeah, and about the universal karmic arrangement and how it's perfect, and the question is, okay, well, how can it be manipulated so easy just by powerful personalities or materially powerful personalities with something like paper money and so on? Well, I mean, we're in Kali-yuga, and this is an age where people will be cheated. There's a society of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said, it's a society of cheaters and the cheated. So there's always been a battle between, if you want to say, the demons and the demigods, and sometimes it seems that the demons are conquering, are more powerful. Just like Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha. At that time, I mean, Indra was conquered, everybody was conquered. But eventually, Lord Nrsingadev came and killed Hiranyakashipu. So their so-called victory only lasts so long. And what is that victory in the afterlife? It's not victory at all. It's quite the opposite, what their reactions are. So there's always been a battle like that, and as we were reading the other day, the demons become especially powerful at night. You go out to Garnet or go to any other places, they become especially enlivened and powerful at night. It's tamagun. But so Kali Yuga, it's a time it's a dark age. So it's a time when the demons, they become prominent or powerful. But we shouldn't think that they won't get any reactions. They will get reactions. That's our understanding. And it is the business of devotees to, in whatever the circumstance they may be in, to take shelter of Krishna. So if we're in a society where we feel we're struggling, we're suffering, this, that, and we're under the control of all these demons, and we could take it as an opportunity to take shelter of Krishna. Or, as Srila Prabhupada wanted, create your own society. It's the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. It's supposed to be a society, which means there's a lot of work to do in that regard. Right now we have a temple, but society means we are completely self-sufficient. We have our own doctors, we have our own this, we have our own that, we have our own farms, we're growing our own food. We're like not relying at all on the external society. But right now, it's a little challenging in that regard, but we can move in that direction. So anyways, those are some thoughts. Hope that satisfies you to at least some degree. All right. Okay, Sankarshan, please. Last one. Sankarshan.
Hare Krishna. I mean, I had a question, but I'm still trying to figure it out in my head. But since you brought it up, like in Vaishnava communities or ISKCON, it's kind of big as it is. And so it's talking about even though one can't give up his sinful activities, you know, just by chanting, then Krishna kind of says it in the 12th chapter. One can't fix his mind and follow. Mm-hmm. I was just wondering, how do you address this? Because you could look at those verses and you could apply that within ISKCON communities. Like, just like, like there's this person not following. And so.
Where is that in the Bhagavad Gita? Does anyone remember?
Text 8.
Chapter 8?
No, chapter 12, text 8.
Chapter 12, text 8. Yeah. Okay, anyways, you could go on.
And so, being realistically, like if you look at a group of a community or a sangha, and you could like see not everybody is a perfect. Like there's some people struggling with certain things. So how do you deal with? It could be kind of, how would I say it? Almost if a person is trying to deal with a sense of failure, because ISKCON itself has its it sets its high standards, meaning like within its own like So because then somebody's kind of just hiding in that sense, and then that's just going to be eating them up. Yeah. And so how do you actually like approach them, and then?
Okay, thank you. So we'll just briefly say something about this. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that fix your mind upon me and engage all your intelligence in me, thus you'll live in me always without a doubt. So that's like the topmost platform. Just always think of Krishna. If you cannot fix your mind on me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti. So if you can't spontaneously think of Krishna, then follow the regulations of Bhakti. And this way you will develop a desire to attain me. So it's not spontaneous, but we're following the regulations to work up to that point of a spontaneity. If you cannot practice the regulations of Bhakti Yoga, then just try to work for me. In other words, you can't think of Krishna spontaneously, you can't follow the principles of Bhakti Yoga to develop that desire, so work for me. And you'll come to the perfect stage, that's what he says. And then he says, if however you're unable to work in this consciousness for me, giving some fruit, some money, to charity, to me, to my purposes, then try to act, giving up all results of your work and try to be self-situated. If you cannot take to this practice, then engage yourself in cultivation of knowledge. Better than knowledge, however, is meditation. Better than meditation is renunciation, the fruits of action, for by such renunciation one can attain peace of mind. So, and then Srila Prabhupada brings up the point that if you can't do any of that, you can't give to Krishna consciousness, just give to something. Give to some organization. Just try to develop that. So yeah, there's clearly different levels, and not everybody could make it up to even following, or yeah, it's a high level. So one person's victory is another person's failure. I mean, it's somebody's victory to chant 4 rounds. That's one person's victory. But for another person, that's their failure. One person's victory is to think of Krishna once a day. For another person, that's a failure. So it depends on who the person is, but the main principle really that everyone should follow is that everyone should be in the mood of humility, not offending devotees. And they should try their best to practice Krishna consciousness, and their best may look different than others. And Krishna will be pleased with that, because as he's saying here, he's giving so many options. So he's very merciful. So if one does their best, honestly does their best, and if they're very humble, then eventually they'll make progress and they'll reach perfection. I've seen a number of people devotees, who were not able to follow in so many different ways. But because they were humble, because they were very respectful towards Vaishnavas, they somehow stayed in the company of devotees, and they gradually made progress throughout the years until the point of initiation, and they're very nice devotees. But I've seen other people who couldn't follow for different reasons, who were very proud and arrogant and not humble, criticizing everything, and then they just can't stay around, and then they don't really make their way up like that. So the main thing is to be humble and to practice the best of one's ability honestly, and Krishna will be pleased with that, and then we will gradually make our way up. So I hope that sounds encouraging enough. All right, so now we will go and we will Sharira Vidjal, Jarendriya Taikal, Jiva Falevija Sagare. What is it, Ramapati? Taramara Jivati, Loba Mosadomati, Takiji Takidina Sangsare, Krishna Badadoy Moy, Karabada Jiva Joy, Swaprasad and Lila Bai, Sain Amrita Pau, Radha Krishna Gunagal, Prema Dakoi, Sri Chaitanya Nitya, Mahaprasadam Ki Jai, Hare Krishna.